Incredibly much for joining us on tonight's live channeling with the Star People. So, yeah, this week has been very, very interesting. And so we take a look. We do have a full moon lunar eclipse energetic out right now. And so that actually has been causing a lot of people to question online. And so the questions that are coming in lately are how to release entity and how to clear your energetic grid structure in order to allow for that higher frequency to fully be absorbed in the human grid. And so I have a train going by, so just wait a minute. Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for watching. Okay. Okay, yeah, you were just thinking about all this. Yeah, the moon is absolutely huge right now. And so actually, if anyone has any crystals or moon water and you want to put it outside to make it, that was a couple other questions that we have to go through. And so moon water is when you take a jar or something and you place it out so that the moon's frequency can actually tune into the water inside that jar. And then all of a sudden, you have to realize that whatever frequency this particular moon is giving us is a frequency that's going to activate inside the water. And so what do we see with this? This is a full moon, but also a lunar eclipse. And so you may have had a spontaneous burst of energetics, maybe yesterday, and then maybe today you may have felt a little bit of draining of your energy. And so that's what this moon is doing. And so the water is going to get encoded with that type of frequency. And so if you want to make a jar and then hang on to it, it's very important. But that water is going to help and assist you in releasing and receiving new energetics. And so that is a process of evolution, because when we start the process of raising our frequency, you have to release in order to receive. Now, when your entire life is going to change, so let's say you level up, all of a sudden your old life gets left behind. So you are no longer that person. You stepped onto a new timeline. You stepped onto a new path. You are, in a sense, a new person. And so this happens when you go through big changes. Marriage, that's one change. So you left your childhood behind. Now, all of a sudden, you're an adult and you're married. And so the childhood adult, that's another one. So you're leaving, you're discarding energetics is a way of thought, right? And then you're receiving new thought, which opens up your energetically in order to step forward on your path. And so that's what we can see happening with this particular moon. And so when this happens and you make the moon water, you get that moon water, you could put it in a bath, and you only have to take a teaspoon, they're saying. But when you put it in your bath, it actually, you can command it to change the frequency of the entire bathtub. And so they're saying that by doing this, what you're actually doing is you're changing the entire frequency, but it's like adding the frequency code into the water that you wish to see manifested. And so that is eventually going to have a ripple effect, and it will eventually change the entire frequency of the bath water. And so they sense, or they're saying that they would actually like people to start doing this with the oceans. And so this is, you take a jar of water, love it, bless it, and then go and pour it into the ocean. But you could take it another step further. You can pour it on your plants, or you can even pour it down your dish drain. And so with the dish drain, they're saying to say manifestations of thank you, universe, for cleaning our drinking water. And then when you put it down a dish drain, it's all getting cycled back into the same system. And so it's going to change the frequency of the entire system, of the water system. Yeah, amazing. So now moon water is really, really important, because when light ions do not pass through glass. And so we may be using glass jars in order to make the moon water. And that's great, but you can't have a lid on it. So if you can use like saran wrap, the light ions pass right through it. And so this way, you know that that water and the consciousness of the water will actually be downloading the frequency codes of the moon. Yeah. Can you speak about the consciousness of water? So water holds memory. Memory is what makes us conscious, because without that spark of life and the memory complex, you wouldn't be who you are today. And so you have a look at it. In a sense, if your complete memory was erased right now, would you know how to function without your memory? No, I'm sorry. Someone's saying a question. Okay. Would you know how to function properly without your memory? No, absolutely not. This happened to Earth centuries ago during the time of Lemurius. And so they were at a very high level. A solar flare came, and their Merkaba grids were not properly activated. And so their consciousness went from very high to zero. And so during that process, it was as if their complete memory grid was wiped back down to a level zero. And so when that happens, then all of a sudden you are unable to function. You don't know how to live. You don't know how to open a door. You don't know how to do anything for yourself. You become very childlike. And you have to figure everything out all over again. And so your memory grid is your thought grid with your emotion grids intertwined. So it's green. And so this was another thing that came across my questions today, was the time stone ability, which is attached into the memory grid, because the time space has a frequency code and the memory has a frequency code. And so time and space has everything to do with the memory grid, because through the conscious mind, you can actually activate your extrasensory ability to tune into the memory grid and fully grab a memory. And this is, a lot of people do this with string workers, they're saying. And so you can take a memory and you can project the memory into your future self or your future timeline of manifestation. And so when you pull a memory, you can also heal, they're saying, your past memories. And so that does dive into healing traumas spontaneously, but also it's deeper than that, because they are saying that you can tune into the memory grids of the entire civilization and change the frequency coding of those traumas that happened to the entire civilization. And then when you come out of the meditation and you open your eyes, that trauma will be as if it never existed. However, you have to start doing that type of process very slowly. There's safeties on, they say, to doing that type of work, but someone who's watching this is properly attuned for that gift. And I have confirmation on that. So just be aware, if you feel like this is something that you may want to try and do, your guides are going to be with you to guide and support you during the process, they're saying. And so when you start to go into the civilization, you start to access the memory grid, it is directly tied into the Akashic records. However, the Akashic records is more like a memory bank. And so the civilization record is there, but you're only going to make changes to this particular parallel reality, not the one in the Akashic record. So you go into your meditative state, you pull at the memory grid of the whole civilization. Then all of a sudden you send it love and light, you heal it. It's more than just sending it love and light, they're saying, because there is a particular frequency resonation that goes in, and then that comes from the heart chakra. However, it's being directed with the conscious mind. And then when you go in and you heal that memory, you open your eyes and you might feel a deja vu, or you may feel a Mandela effect manifesting in the now moment. And so if you've ever had a deja vu and you've opened your eyes and then all of a sudden you have felt like, oh, I've done this before. So what that is, it's actually tuning into the memory grids as well as the time-space frequency code. Because when you start to realize that you are multidimensional in your actual nature, then you can start to harness or take control of that ability. And so what does that look like? That basically looks like going inside yourself and feeling, what is it that you wish to experience right now in this very moment? What memory do you want to change of your past? Now, we can start from a very linear perception. We can go into the memory and we can heal it in the now moment. So what does that look like? That looks like healing your inner child. That looks like doing the actual work of healing yourself. That looks like going into the memories, releasing them from the physical body, because your memories can actually store in the cellular levels of the physical form. And when they do that, it causes an energetic imbalance to form first before the physical body. And so when you start to release the energetics and you start to release the emotions that are trapped inside the body, then all of a sudden you start to change the person who you are in the now moment. And so that basically looks like your light is being given permission to shine a little bit brighter. And so when that happens, it's kind of like you're more happy, or you may potentially be following your highest passion or potential, they are saying. And so the more and more you start the process of going in and healing yourself, the more easier you may find it to go through this whole process of raising the biological frequency. However, this may also be done instantaneously, they are saying. And so what does that look like? That looks like you close your eyes. And when you close your eyes, you visualize and you be opening the childlike mind, they are saying, which is also connected into the solar plexus. And so when you start to clear, the solar plexus is going to energetic into the physical form. Now your pineal gland is going to open, as well as the three primary chakras are going to become fully interconnected. And so your pineal gland, your heart chakra, and the solar plexus, all of these three, they tune in and they kind of make a three in a shape when all three activate. And then all of a sudden your energetic grid structure starts to flame up, which is oscillation. And so then you go into the meditative state and you can pull at anything that you wish to shift out of your physical reality. And so this is a very, very advanced technique. But once again, they're bringing it forward because someone's watching this who needs the information. And so when you activate these three centers, then all of a sudden you may feel the heart chakra open because it opens like a pine gland. And the pineal gland may open, these two things. And then when you go inside, you can really make changes. You could change who you are. You could change your physical reality. You can change your history. You could change the solar system. And so every single thing in the holographic reality that you see is a simulation. And so atoms and molecules are under a state of vibratory frequency. It's an oscillation. And so we are each frequency generators. So that means that we are able to, with our mind, with our mental abilities and with our emotions and our electrical systems, we are able to change the frequency code that our biological form is resonating or oscillating at. And then when that happens, when you open your eyes, you will vibrate into a parallel reality in which what you choose to experience is there. The beginner way of doing this, the way that we all are taught how to do this, is the beginning stages I'm going to speak about now, is by changing your emotions. Because when you change your emotions, when you become higher emotion, which basically is more love and light or happiness or laughter. And so when you start the process of activating laughter automatically connects you into a bliss frequency code. And so you want to laugh all day if you can. And the star people have me doing this personally, where they could be trying to trigger me with negative thoughts in my mind. And so they're trying to train me to overcome those thoughts, which now at this point I've become like a master of it because I sideswipe it, right? So negative thought, you're out of here. But they want, now it's time to laugh more. And so we joke all day. And so, but what are you doing when you're joking all day? You're laughing. And so even if you have the negative thoughts in your mind, we all have the ability to have a negative thought and sideswipe it. And so throw it in the trash bin. And so what do you do next? Laugh at it. And you can laugh at the negative thought as if it was joking with you, or as even if it was an extraterrestrial who was teaching you or training you. And so many extraterrestrials will train you how to do advanced shadow work, especially if you're watching my video, because they've gone through a lot of my session people and they've done advanced shadow work with session people. Yes, sometimes it's good to cry, because when you cry, crying is releasing the energetics that are stored inside the body. Let's say, for an example, your kidneys have an energetic blockage. So if your body needs to release it because the emotion code that you're holding on to is too strong of a low vibrational nature, your body will cry to release that emotion so that that emotion does not get trapped in the physical body. Now, many times when we experience tragedies or deaths, or, death of someone close to us, then all of a sudden we may cry and cry again and cry again and cry again. And that's okay too, because the more times you cry, but you will eventually get to a point where you no longer have to cry. That's when you know that you have the potential right in that moment to go through and release the emotion code and just keep releasing it. And so magnets are wonderful because magnets will actually release the emotions stuck in the physical form as well as the energetic grid structure. And so this is why magnets are used in many, many different types of therapies, because we know that magnets heal the energetics as well as the physical form. And so every single disease in the human body starts with an emotion code. And so the emotion code is always tragedy or an emotion of lower vibrational things. And so when we know this, then all of a sudden the emotions become very, very important. Are you happy being in the position that you're in right now? If the answer is yes, okay, what can you do to laugh more? That's your next step. If you are not happy with where your life is right now in this current moment, okay, so what is it going to take to make you happy? What are steps that you can take? And then make a list. Every day, everyone has to write a list, because this is what they had me do. And so they said, Writing a list is placing your focus, because wherever you place your focus is where your energetic is going to flow, and your energetic is how you manifest into the physical reality. So if you are focused, for an example, of getting a new car, so you may focus on it, you may visualize it, you may see it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you just, what does the entire experience of having that car feel like? So the human form itself has been found that when we close our eyes and we do exercises, your muscles and your biological form has a response of you actually doing that exercise, even though the only thing that you're doing is closing your eyes and visualizing it. So close your eyes and visualize a new car, or whatever it is that you choose to manifest into your reality. If you wish to manifest being a baker of bread, see it, smell it. What does it feel like? Write it down. Write it down and focus on it every single day. Whatever it takes for you to upgrade those emotions, because every single experiential, they are saying, is an emotion code. And so you going to an ice cream truck and getting an ice cream cone, that's an experience. That's actually an emotion code. When was the first time you, as a child, felt or experienced going to the truck and getting an ice cream cone? That experience, it fires off an emotion. So knowing that, then all of a sudden, you really want to have a look at the memory grid. What emotions do you have currently stored? What emotions have you mastered? When someone teases you now, do you get upset, or you just shrug it off and you're like, whatever, right? And so if you shrug it off like whatever, that means that you mastered the code. So when you master the code, then all of a sudden it's very important, because when you visually understand what it is to manifest using emotion codes, then every single emotion code actually has a frequency that changes or shifts you to a parallel reality. And so how do we do that? Well, the simple baby step way of doing that is by love and light, right? So be in happiness, be in bliss, follow your highest passion, because that's the fastest way to raise your biological frequency. However, every single emotion code is a manifestation code. And so when you take that into consideration, now all of a sudden you realize there's a wide range of human emotion codes. When you combine certain codes, let's say you have 2 or 3 emotions, you can combine all 3 of them and make instantaneous manifestations using 3 different emotions. And so this is done automatically by us. We just don't realize that we're doing it. And so there's also energetic ways of projecting your chi energy, and that's done with an emotion code. So for example, someone who's into martial arts, if they had to do a type of training where they had to roll and then they had to run and jump and kick someone, and they did it without using any emotion. So their kick would have been a decent size. However, if they were angry, let's say they were really angry, and so they would have done the rolls, and then all of a sudden they would have kicked. So now that they threw an emotion code in there, or let's say that they use the anger emotion code, all of a sudden that person that they kicked just went flying. And that's because their chi energetics got amplified because the emotion code. So you have to realize the way the Kundalini energetics flow. And they flow like, we see it like this, as a snake, and the 2 lines crisscross up and down the human form. It's actually not working like a 2-dimensional shape, because the crisscross lines is 2-dimensional. It's 3-dimensional. So it's vortexing up. And when it vortexes up, it's kind of like a triangle. So there's actually 3 codes. There's your electrical, magnetic, as well as your binary codex frequency. And so when you take all 3 of those, it forms a triangle, but then it vortexes up and it looks like that crisscrossing of energetics. And so when you combine your emotion with your projection of your energy, so running and kicking someone is projection of energy, right? Running a mile, projection of energy, because you're using your physical form to project your energy. And so some other ways that we can project energy is by writing. If you're a writer, so we see writers who are pouring their heart into their work, and then all of a sudden their work is the best work that people have ever written or actually read. And so you'll see this as well with like pianists. And pianists, they will pour their emotions into playing the musical song. And so you will feel it. Okay, is it wrong to manifest specific things? I heard it limits the universe, how the universe operates. Thoughts? You are the universe. The universe is you. So each and every one of us is a tiny little fractal of the universal source frequency. And so what does that mean? That means that there is a frequency wave that comes down into the physical reality, and it is inside of each and every one of us. And so the creator wants us to manifest. And this is the thing, it's so funny, because we can either manifest war or we can manifest peace. Both are allowed. However, when you manifest war, it starts cycles of karma. And then that karma has to push you along until you go back to a love-based emotional frequency. And so the universe constantly pushes you towards love. And so knowing that, that basically means that anybody who is warlike is going to go through the karmic process to eventually become loving. That happens with multiple lifetimes. That also happens in this lifetime with the cycle endings and the cycle startings. And so when we really want to manifest something, if we specifically manifest it for the good of all. So let's say my information for an example. I put all my information out for the good of all. And so it's totally service to the collective. And so when you do that, then all of a sudden the manifestation will fire off at much higher frequencies, which basically means it's going to happen very rapidly. So a higher frequency, think of the angel realm, because the frequency goes very, very rapidly. But as it comes down into the physical reality, it gets very slow, it gets dense. Now, when it actually reaches the octave underneath our feet, it goes very slow. And that's where dark attachments are the octave below our feet. And so when we know that, then all of a sudden we can have a look, we can see the frequency wave. That frequency wave is coming straight down the physical form, and it goes down through the feet and into Mother Earth. Mother Earth is also sending a frequency up. So you have to realize is the way frequencies kind of work, and they flow like a battery does. And so you have a positive and a negative polarity. And so they're two interchanging frequencies. And so they also spin around as a toroidal field. Toroidal field, the center is your heart. And that's where the small place, the small crack in the heart is. It's not a crack, it's a small chakra. So there's two chakras in the heart. One is the upper, one is the lower. The lower one is where the higher self sits. And so that is actually at the bottom of the heart. And that is where the human toroidal field is formed. And so, yeah, when you start this process, but it's very important, they're saying, because it's important to see the human body as kind of a battery where it has a positive and a negative, and the two are intertwined, because that's the way Mother Earth works as well. And so we can see her magnetic field works like this too. And so it shifts in and out, and it's making a toroidal field. However, if you had a closer look at the toroidal field, you'd actually notice that it has a triangle up and a triangle down. And that's known as your Merkaba field. And so that Merkaba field is actually encoded into every single living and non-living thing on this planet. So you can actually get the flower of life symbol by taking a look at the Merkaba field. So once again, we're going to pull this crystal, because this is what a toroidal field resembles. And so it goes like this. And then all of a sudden, when you take a strand of DNA and you chop it in half, you're going to see the flower of life symbol, which is this crystal. And so this shows us, the sacred geometry shows us that every single thing is connected. So it's not only every living being, and this is how advanced telepathy works, by realizing that we are all one consciousness. There's only one entity here. So we're just having a fractalized experience in which my is mine and yours is yours. However, our soul level, our oscillation and our frequencies are all connected on the higher levels. And when we are allowed to have this individual perception, it actually allows us to learn more about ourselves and our true potentials, because we are able to overcome things. They're saying that you are overcoming the density of the physical reality. And so overcoming the density of the physical reality is overcoming your darkness. Okay, how do we get our own connection with angels to speak back and forth? Each and every one of us is assigned 2 angels. And so it's actually, there's like a good and a bad. And so, but the bad is not allowed to make moves until the good one authorizes him. And so your good one will only authorize negative experiences to manifest into your life if you need the negative experience to get you to a next level, or a cycle ending will manifest. So a cycle ending is basically when your soul form has chosen to end your cycle of life. And so that happens. We see car accidents or tragedies. And so all of that stuff is your end of life is predetermined. However, because we are soul forms and because we are a fractal of the source frequency, we can choose to stay a little bit longer. And so normally when you have a traumatic experience, you will go and talk to your guides, and your guides will ask you, do you wish to stay, or do you wish to, what do you want to do? And so if you tell them that you wish to stay, then all of a sudden, even if your body was mangled, they can just focus it back to a human form. And that's because your body isn't real. It's real, but it's not solid. And it's also how the holographic light coding technology works, because most extraterrestrial species have figured this out before they even left their planet. If you have a cut or you have a bruise, they wave a frequency generator over you, and it automatically heals your physical form. And so the biologics of the human being is very, very easy to heal. And so when you start to do that, it's just a frequency, it's a code. And so you're tuning into your binary codex frequency, which then in turn, they can take that frequency and oscillate it into your physical form, which then in turn starts to regenerate it. And so we can see this because certain cancers can be healed by certain frequencies. And so you have your stay-at-home people who are figuring this out because they got sick, and now all of a sudden they're buying Rife machines and they're putting these underneath their beds and they're healing their cancer of these. And so frequency generators can be used for many, many, many different reasons. You can use frequencies to enact anti-gravity. And so this is how the pyramids were built. However, you do not need technology to use a frequency generator, because the human form is a frequency generator. So each and every emotion code is the coding that you project into the physical reality, which in turn is going to generate a frequency and change the manifestation of your physical reality. That's how it's done. Okay, so how do you get your own connection with angels to speak back and forth? Yeah, I bypassed that whole question, I feel like they did. Okay, so you have an angel. And so all you have to do is start communicating with that angel as if they're in the room with you. Start talking to them. And I know it sounds crazy, but this is what you have to do. You can talk to that little voice inside your head as well. Many times those are star people. And so when you do talk and communicate with the angels, you have to realize that there is different emotion codes that come from interaction with the angel realm. And so that if you've ever been in a church and you've had like a divine experience, that's what the angels feel like. And so they're very, very high, blissful, inspirational, kind of makes you want to sing some of those church songs that you knew when you were a kid. That's what they feel like. That's the emotion code of them. And so try and put on a very inspirational song and just close your eyes and have a conversation with them. How does it feel? How do you feel? When you feel inspirational, when you feel divine or your own divinity, then start talking to them and just see what happens, because they'll answer you. They answer most people. You just have to be in alignment. You have to be a match to their frequency. And so this is what we do. We have to hold their emotion code. So how do they feel? They feel bliss. And so if you're able to raise your biological frequency to feel bliss, then they'll pull down a tiny bit, but you guys will interlock. And then all of a sudden the communication is possible. They are also able to drop down into the 3D reality, and they are able to project themselves as an orb, they are saying, or they can actually come into the 3D reality and they can project themselves as either an angel or a person. Or they're also saying to watch, because some of them project and they look like they're diving around dumpsters, and we just have no idea that they're actual angels. And so anybody could be an angel and you just would not know it. So that's another good reason to be nice to everybody, because you don't know who's who. And there's actually a whole lot of extraterrestrials on this planet. So that's something else to be aware of, because you don't know who's who. And so, yeah, just be nice. How do tarot and oracle cards support the connection to higher realms? So tarot and oracle cards are actually, there's a mathematical sequence behind them. And so once again, it goes with the emotion codes, because those cards are tuning into the primary emotion codes, and then it's pulling out experientials. And so when you start the process of working with the cards, right, there should be 52 in the primary deck. And so that's just like our playing cards, the cards that you play like rummy with. And so you have to realize that there's a binary frequency behind those cards, and it's actually connected into the solar and the zodiacs. So each one of the star movements that we have different star charts. Each one of those movements actually changes the frequency of the planet tiny bit. However, when we know that certain stars are in alignment, there's certain energetics that come down to the planet, and it affects the consciousness of the people. And so what does that look like? That looks like doors opening or doors closing. Now, your binary codex frequency also interacts with solar energetics. And so sometimes you may be in alignment to either accept the energy from the star charts, or your doors are closed. And so that energy is not going to have the same effect on you. So everything, it has to do with your individual index, they're saying. And so if you had a zodiac book, a true zodiac book would be about this thick. And so that would give you the opportunity to see your location time, your birthday location, your birth time location, and the star chart during all of that. And so when you start to unpack all of that information, it's much, much more clearer than what we have in the common everyday newspaper. What is red light therapy and how does it support healing? So red light therapy, think about it from a metaphysical perspective. So your root chakra is the basic energetic system that determines your physical form. And so when you have an imbalance in the root chakra, that's to do with either, food, so your weight, your money, your abundance, your physical form, any injuries, illness. This is why many people, especially when they have abundance issues, they'll also develop lower back issues. And so that it tends to throw everything out of balance. So when you start the process of red light therapy, it targets inside the cells, and any imbalances in your root chakra become properly attuned because of the red light therapy. However, we shouldn't be calling it red light therapy. We should be calling it color therapy, because color therapy is a little bit more accurate. And so red light therapy is great, but we need the full color spectrum as well as the UV. And actually putting the stuff in the windows and blocking the UV out, that's a mistake, because your UV actually has a direct impact on your consciousness. And so we're supposed to be out in the sun. We're not supposed to be wearing this many clothes. We're supposed to be absorbing the UV because it changes the way that we think and it makes us more intelligent. So you want to ask yourself all is your diet clean? Do you have any fluoride in your water? Can you clean up your diet? All of a sudden, when you start eating raw foods, let's say, just give an example, eat raw foods for 5 days. See how you feel. Does your mind think the same exact way? Or do you feel a little bit more speedy up there where you're drawing conclusions and you're seeing things a little bit clearer? And so when you're eating raw foods, the light ions in the raw foods go right into the thought grid. So it's very, very important. Now, color therapy can heal the thought grid, it can heal the emotion grid, and it can go into every single biological function, because each chakra subsystem has an energetic grid that surrounds the physical form. That color therapy is going to target that individual grid structure, they're saying, which then in turn, when you start the process of healing each and every one of the colored grids, it starts to bring the aura field back into balance. So it should be color therapy. And the UV is very important. Can my frequency cure someone's disease? Absolutely. However, someone that you're trying or attempting to cure, they have to be in alignment with it, because everyone will. However, you can send love to any person that you see fit. And that's the bottom line. So anyone who tells you you have to have permission to do Reiki energy, that's false information, because Reiki energy is just sending love. You're casting love. And you are encouraged to send love at every single person in this environment, every single plant, every single item, every single experience as well. And so your frequency, you do have the potential. And so we do see that certain martial arts people are taking their chi energetics and they're able to zap people with an electrical type of spark. And so this happens because when you develop your transfer of projection of energy, you can make it stronger. So where your focus goes strengthens the timeline that you were standing on. It strengthens the manifestation. And so you have to remember, all diseases start in the energetic grids. So when you take your hands, let's say you practice Qigong, rub your hands, clap 3 times, and then project that energy into your energetic grid. See how you feel. Now, we can feel about 6 feet out from our physical form. So when you close your eyes, you can start to feel the space around your body. So does it feel like there's any imbalances? Where do you feel it? You may feel a muscle knot. That muscle knot, you can do this with your hands, and you can send it love and light energetics from your hands. And then what it really is doing is you're opening your heart flows, all the energetic flow together as one. So wherever you place your focus and attention, that's where your energy goes. Now, the star people are even saying you could pick up a crystal and you can project your energy through the crystal. This was what was known as a magic wand. And so the magic wands also had crystals on it. You had the crowns on top of the head had different crystals on it because it activated different chakra subsystems in the mind. And so when you start that process of opening up all of the chakra and the meridian and the ley lines, then all of a sudden it gives you advanced projection of this energetic system. They are saying, how can it be the best emotional state to maximize the chances of telepathy between two people? It happens all the time. And so you have to realize that you don't need to be in a positive emotional state to project it onto another person. And so we've all had these experiences when someone really negative walks in the room and you can feel it right away. That's telepathy. It's when you're feeling the emotional frequency the other person is holding. And so this happens automatically, and we just don't realize it's happening. The second that you become aware that it's happening, it starts to manifest it a little bit faster. And so you're becoming aware. It's kind of like you're removing the shade or the veil. So the veil system works like this. Each and every one of your belief systems places a veil over your eyes. It doesn't allow you to see the things that you are not in alignment with. And this is the reason why there could be a UFO right outside my door, and some people may not see it. And that's because they are not in alignment with the frequency of that manifestation. However, it is in the physical reality, and it is real, but some people won't see it because they're not in alignment. So when you start to realize this, you start to become in alignment, and all of a sudden you'll open your eyes and you'll be able to see it. And this goes with anything. So what was it? Okay, how do I undo the damage done to a calcified pineal gland? So I can tell you guys what I have done personally because we don't give health information. And so what I did was I grabbed borax. And so there's a website, and it's well, I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, not meant on the live, but there's a website. Send me a message, guys, and I'll send you the link. What do you call it? Borax. And so borax is a natural organic mineral, and when taken in micro doses, that's what I did. It pulls any of this bad calcium out of the body. Now your pineal gland becomes calcified. It becomes calcified because they put chemical calcium or toxic calcium in the milk, and then in several other products, and then all of a sudden the processed foods, and then it's calcifying all the stuff, causes arthritis, and so you get blood clots from it. Yet hernias in the stomach, knuckle knots, we've healed. So I've given it to a bunch of people already. Like I've given it to over 10 people, and I've watched them heal a bunch of stuff. I had arthritis down my spine, so that was healed. And that was the borax. It cures hormones because after my daughter was born, I had a very bad hormonal imbalance. And so I healed that with that. Yeah. So the calcified pineal gland, it pulls all this negative calcium out of the body. It gets discharged through the urine. So that's what I did. And so you cannot stop taking it though, because once you take it, you have to take it for at least 2 or 3 months, because you got to remember all of this calcium, it's a negative calcium. It's not a positive. All of this negative calcium is breaking down and it's getting transmitted out the urine. And so if it's breaking down and you stop taking a borax, it may get stuck in other locations like your spine. And so it may cause back pain until you start taking it again and then it goes away. Or it could cause kidney stones until you start taking it again and the calcium breaks down and goes away. So this is how we know what it is though, because we figured all this out on our own. Yeah. Okay, amazing. So releasing densities, that's what the borax does, because you're releasing this calcium density from the physical form. Also parasites, the star people want to bring to your attention, because parasites are, and sugar has parasites. And so you may notice that you get sugar cravings, and that's because the sugar is activating a type of parasite in your body. So just be aware of it, because it's, if you've ever left pasta out and you've seen the little bugs grow in it, that's how parasites work. Borax, just like a half a teaspoon in your tea a day. No, absolutely not. So you take a 2 liter. I took a 2 liter, an empty soda bottle, a big one. And I took a tablespoon and I dropped that into the water. I filled it all the way to the top. And then I shook it. And so then I took 3 baby sips, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's a micro dose. You do not need a lot. The only bad thing that will happen from overtaking it into liquid form, the way I just described, is headache. I've done that too. I drank a whole cup and a half, and I was like, oh God, I'll never do that again. But I went away and I was fine. These things that, if I tell you about it, that means I've guinea pigged myself with it. And so I healed myself. So now I know it works. Yeah, for entertainment purposes only. Okay, let's see. Okay. Visual words. Okay, visual words download into them. So somebody asked a question. So we were actually discussing my daughter earlier. And so my daughter, when she was in school, now they're homeschooled. When she was in school, she was having a hard time with her sight words. And so the teacher wanted me to, sit down and read the sight words a million times with her. And I said, oh, I'll handle it. And so what did I do? I grabbed, because I knew all this information, I grabbed all of the sight words and I put them up on the wall by the kitchen table. And so every time we sat down to do paint, every time we sat down to eat dinner, every time we had breakfast, every time we sat down at that table, she was seeing every single sight word. By the time 2 months went by, she started getting hundreds on every single sight word. So the visual words can actually download into your subconscious mind. And so you want to be aware of any words that you are visually seeing. This is also how subliminal messages work, because if anyone has ever seen, they were doing during COVID, they were doing news broadcasting, and then there was a blip in their system, and then all of a sudden there was a satanic ritual behind the picture. So we actually got to see the satanic ritual being played. And so, that was a big blunder by whichever news media it was. That video should be online. It was pretty wild. But the fact that they know that you can have all these sight words up and they instantaneously get downloaded after a little bit of time watching them, to all of a sudden, now you guys are putting such negative information underneath our television programming. And so what is that doing to ourselves? If you have ever sat down and watched a series, the entire series, like had a Netflix marathon for 2 or 3 days, how do you feel after you watch that? Probably drained. Right? You probably like, well, your energy just came out of you. That's because you've been watching all of this negative programming underneath the picture that you're actually seeing. And so that's how this works. So what was that? Is borax for parasites, or is there something else specific for parasites? I can tell you that I saw a TikTok, and this TikTok, this guy had cancer, and it was everywhere. It was in his brain and his lungs, and the doctors were just like, your cancer is everywhere. So they sent him home to die. And so what he did, he made the news. This is how it was all over TikTok maybe 6 months ago. And he took fenbendazole, because that was the only thing he can get his hands on was dog dewormer. And so he took that. And then that cured all of the cancer in his body, got cured by taking a dewormer for a dog. And so then all of a sudden you had everyone seen this on the news. So more people started doing it, and then it went TikTok viral. So there were a lot of people discussing it, in my reality anyway. Yeah. So it's wild. So parasites. And then not only that, but there's so many different tricks and techniques to do it, because you have to realize parasites, what specific is fenbendazole. So it's like an anti-parasitic. It's a dewormer. And so you can do, what? Okay. You can do any type of dewormer, but it goes on how do you feel. And so a lot of times with parasites, when you start taking material like that, like to try and detoxify them, you may feel run down for 2 or 3 days. And that's the parasite is fighting you, right? And so you have to realize that everything is a reflection of, because we are fractals. And so when you start cleaning out your biologics of parasites, you may start to notice the parasites in the civilization will become like inflamed, or they will start to disappear. So whatever changes you make in yourself, it changes in the external reality. So just keep your eye on it, because you're going to watch for reflections. Now, a reflection is whatever you are manifesting, you'll start to see it in the external civilization. And so it could either be on an advertisement, it could be on, you could hear 2 people talking about whatever it is that you're trying to manifest. So let's say you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you may hear them talking about it. And so that's a reflection, because it's something that you are trying to manifest, and you're seeing it reflect into the hologram. And so, that's important to look out for, because the more reflections you get, the closer you are getting to that manifestation firing off. And so it's really, really important. Let me see. What was this one? Yeah. So you've heard it working against cancer. Yeah, that's right. So, I mean, this is Allie's so cute. For entertainment purposes only. Yeah, this is only what I do. So I can tell you guys what I do, but then again, like my personal life, like I've had bad experiences with doctors left and right. And so they like I've had so many things wrong and they're just like, we can't figure it out. So what are you gonna do? You're either gonna stay sick or you're gonna figure it out. But in the process of figuring it out yourself, that's how we learn. And so that is walking your personal path of darkness and learning from it. And so now, whenever I have any symptom come up, I know exactly how to handle it. It's a training. That's what it is. So, yeah, excellent. Okay. Oh, let's talk future technologies, solar flare and power outage. Yeah. Future technologies are unlimited. And so if you think lightsabers are cool, that's only one technology that I want. Replicators are real. Anti-gravity craft are real. Time-space teleportation, real. Now, the way teleportation works, it's kind of like this. You hold DNA. Your DNA holds memory. And so because your DNA holds memory, what they're actually doing is they're breaking down the old version of you and teleporting you. So all your atoms and molecules get broken down here. And then they get reanimated here, except your memory grid activates and it allows you to maintain continuity from X, Y, and Z. So that's how the teleportation device works. I don't know how comfortable I feel with that because they're still breaking down the body that I'm in right now, even though I'm ending up over there. So I'm pretty sure like this is why the star people, they beam people up. So they are taking your body and your form and they are taking you up. So it's not really like an instantaneous teleportation. It's different. Now, certain teleportation devices don't do that. So like the ring one, because I've had a ring one. It kind of looked like Stargate, but it was really big. And so I went through a past life regression of myself once, and I saw one of those Stargates. I was standing in front of it, and it looked like water. And so that one does not actually break down your physical form. It takes you and just shifts the external hologram. And so that allows you to come into the next density or dimension. What specific is for? Oh, no. Okay, I did that already. Yeah. So that one is cool because that's instantaneous teleportation. Now, our universe is actually built inside someone else's universe. So this universe started, if you think about CERN, they're taking dark matter or dark particles, driving it around in a circle and smacking it, making light. And so all life comes from darkness, all of it. When you are pregnant, your baby is in darkness. Your brain is in darkness. And so your eyes, all of this stuff, it's all a reflection of the source frequency. And so when they took those things and they smacked them together and they made light, it's like the Big Bang Theory, but it's a tiny bit different because what you're doing is you're sparking a new universe. And so it may have been super tiny, but then it may have grown and grown and grown and grown. And now all of a sudden our universe is inside their universe. This is the way the multiverse works because you have one frequency and one next to it, and one next to it, and one next to it. So when you start to realize the way that the universe is actually in the oscillation, they are saying, then all of a sudden you can change your oscillation in your biological frequency range, and you can change the reality that you are in using the power of your consciousness. Now, each and every one of us have the ability to instantaneously heal. And so they're drawing my attention back to that because they said the technology is wonderful, but the technology changes for each and every one of you guys because each and every one of you is in your own timeline bubble. And so being that you're in your own timeline bubble, that means that you guys may experience different technology than what's in my reality. And so, but just knowing and becoming aware of the technology is what allows you to fully step onto the timeline in which it manifests. But when you're unaware of the technology, then all of a sudden it allows your higher self to guide and manifest the technology that you need to see in your personal lifetime. That's why they're like, change the topic from that. Okay. Because I know a whole bunch of technologies too. And they're amazing. Like I want to have access to them. Okay. The solar flare and the power outage. So this is something that happens during solar flares, right? So we are waiting on a coronal mass ejection, which is a gigantic solar flare. And so what it looks like, because the star people have given me a vision of it, it actually sounds like three horns coming from the sun. And the sun already looks really, really white. So we know about the Yuga cycles and the Kali Yuga cycles. And so these cycles tend to shift the consciousness. It also shifts the magnetic field of the earth. However, When you are in a very high loving, caring, kind emotional frequency or oscillation, then all of a sudden you are going to step onto a higher frequency range. So 5D is already available for us to tune into. And so that looks like us following our highest passions and being love and light and laughing all day. That's when you can start to feel into that frequency range, because 5D is actually encoded right on top of this realm. It's just up to you to access it by changing your biological frequency. And so when you start to do this, you start to harness these high emotional frequencies inside of you. They're bringing it right back to listen to inspirational music that you know is sacredly sound. So you want to go according to the 432 hertz. And so anybody who has guitars and stuff, you want to start tuning it to the, the earth frequency, and then all of a sudden play your guitar in there, because that actually makes sacred geometry form in the human body instead of using 440 hertz, when that's going to make us sick because it's going to scramble up our cells. Now, we don't realize that this is happening, but this happens. So every time you're watching TV, every time you listen to the negative music, then it's not properly set. And so we know about frequency generators. So a Rife machine can make us heal cancer. And so each and every disease, the Star people are saying, comes in from a physical perspective, but there's also a spiritual perspective. And so when you have a disease, you're supposed to try and use both. And so by using a physical, you can, just like we were speaking earlier about the fenbendazole. So let's take for parasites. We can use a physical free pass, which is fenbendazole, or we can use a spiritual, which is a frequency. And so we can either use a physical frequency generator, or we can use our mind. So we can actually close our eyes. We can visualize any and all of the parasites inside the physical form. And then we can send them love and light and thank them for the experience. When you send them enough of that love, bliss, emotion, then all of a sudden you'll shift into a parallel reality in which you never experienced the parasites to begin with. And so this is the way this works. Now, if you have a paper cut, for an example, this is a great way to start to train yourself this ability. Let's say you had a paper cut. Then all of a sudden, what we do is we throw a Band-Aid over it and we ignore it. Don't do that. So take your hands and start projecting that love and light onto the paper cut. Let's see how many days it takes to heal. So the more attention, the more love that you give something. And this doesn't have to be you applying ointment and stuff. This is just you doing the Reiki energy and sending that love frequency, because your focus is on it. So when you keep doing that, then all of a sudden it's going to heal very, very rapidly, because you are adding in a higher frequency emotion into the energetic grid structure of that cut. And so each and every cut starts in the energetic grids. And so you won't manifest a broken arm if the energetic grid of that arm is properly balanced, they're saying. Yeah, perfect. Any bands you recommend? I have no idea. No. Okay. Does anybody else have any questions? Can you speak about Stargates? Yes, Stargates is, well, actually, they're saying that there's a bunch of them. The one I saw in my past life regression was a giant circular one, and it looked like water and you step through it. But they're saying that there's some in rocks, and the rock ones, once again, your DNA holds the frequency key. And so when you walk up to the rock, then all of a sudden, if your DNA is properly oscillating at the frequency that Stargate was determined, or I guess it was set to, then it will either allow you access or it will stay rock. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah, go on YouTube and there's a lot of great music tuned into 432. You have to be careful though. So if you have like the guitar tuners, so you can actually see for yourself, because I do know that there's a lot of YouTube videos out there that have been tampered with. So we think it's, and the binaural beats is the same way. So a binaural beat is, we look for 432 hertz and a binaural beat. So that basically means that the main frequency is 432. However, the oscillation in both ears is different. So it goes tick and tock, tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. And what the purpose of binaural beats is, it's generating a form of cohesion among the brainwaves. You can have different binaural beats that take away pain, for an example. You can have different binaural beats that activate certain hormonal releases like oxytocin, so it makes you really happy. So there's one for everything. And so when you know this, but The binaural beats on YouTube, you have to know the source. Who is producing the binaural beats? Who is producing the music? How can we tell? Right? And so you want to get a guitar tuner. You want to actually check the frequency of their music. Not only that, but if you're listening to audios when you're in meditation, how do you know that they're not throwing in subliminal messages that you're just not aware of? So you want to listen to them once while you're consciously awake and aware, so you can hear all of the words that are being said during that meditation, because you definitely don't want to listen to anything overnight while your subconscious mind is running, right? You want to be very aware of any information that you take into your subconscious mind. And so this also happens when you have a TV in your bedroom. So even if you unplug it, that TV is pumping out frequencies that trigger brainwave patterns. Your cell phone does the same. There's also brainwave technology built into the Apple iPhone. And so you know this because you could be thinking something and then all of a sudden you'll start to see advertisements for it. It already has the technology to read your brainwaves. That's already a fact. So that means that they can also trigger your brainwaves so that you want to pick up your phone. And then they're taking, information, because Apple says, how many times did you pick up your phone? How long were you on your phone? So it's turning into like a guinea pig situation with that. So just be aware. You guys have the conscious power. You can leave your phone in the microwave and they can't get you, right? And so when you're sleeping, at least. Now, there's something to do with frequencies of electricity. Is the frequency of the electricity is also set to cause incoherence in the body. And so when you sleep at night, you really want to take all of the electronics, all the technology, take it all out of the bedroom. And so what's going to happen is you're going to notice that you're going to sleep a lot deeper. You are going to astral project a lot easier. Your circadian rhythm, they're saying, adjusts more to the planet, depending on how much electricity is running in your bedroom. And so just be aware of it, because if there's any tiny, tiny steps that you could do, like let's say you put the phone outside, or don't sleep with the iWatch, or you don't have any TVs in your bedroom, right? And so these are all tiny little things that we can do just to kind of see how we feel. If we feel better doing these tiny little things, keep doing it. And so you may have even noticed that, like married people, they may have had, they may have been fighting, and then all of a sudden they stop watching TV and all of the marital issues go away, especially when they watch The Simpsons. That movie's horrible. Yeah. Can you speak of lucid dreaming versus regular dream state? So your regular dream state, a lot of times people do not remember their dreams. And so when you don't remember your dreams, it's kind of like you're not consciously in control of your dreams. And that's okay. That's what we've been doing all along. When you're lucid, it's kind of like you're awake in the dream. And then you remember it because you're like, oh, I was there. And then when you're awake in the dream, you're lucid, you can actually start to command and program the dream. So when you command and program the dream, there's a dream walking ability. And that dream walking ability actually gives you the potential to take that dream frequency and open your eyes and have the dream play out in your real physical life. It's not going to look the same. It's going to be like whatever it is that you're picking and choosing or selecting in the dream. When you open your eyes, you're going to start to notice the mirror reflections. And so I personally had one dream during COVID where I was picking and choosing, like I was in a supermarket, picking and choosing what I wanted to see happen in the civilization. So, all the stuff with the, and then put it all in the shopping cart. And when I woke up, I was like, wow, that's a really weird dream. And then I started to see the reflections of the dream everywhere in the physical reality. That's the level 1 of that ability. That ability goes up to 3. So each ability has beginner, intermediary, and advanced. And so when you know this and all of a sudden you place focus on it, you get in your dream, you become lucid, you start commanding what you see. When you command what you see, then you command it into your physical reality. When you open your eyes, watch the reflections happen, because the star people are also saying that they have 3 or more individuals in their civilization that they put in charge of commanding the civilization. And so what do they want to see? Well, let's say they're on a mission to help humanity evolve and survive. Then all of a sudden they would have their dream walkers go into the dream state and command that dream. And so 3 people can be in one dream at the same time. And so they command that dream to be them helping assist us in our evolution. And so when they wake up, then all of a sudden it's kind of like a big timeline shift. And so now the entire civilization, their focus and the consciousness, everything shifts. And then that manifests as them for a civilization. And so that is the third degree of the dream walker ability. I also have a post about that up on the Tree of Life organization page and Danielle Lipton page on Facebook. So you guys, so you have to scroll down, but it's there somewhere. Yeah. What are your thoughts about highly electrical rooms with crystals? Like, yeah, oh yeah. What does that mean? Gridding? Oh, okay, gridding. Yeah, duh. I should have known that one. Okay. I put crystals everywhere. And so a lot of times you may notice people light a candle in their window because it keeps the darkness from entering the window. And so I put crystals on my windows, and I do it all the time. Selenite is great. Shungite is great too, because black and white crystals go together, even though they look like they're totally different, but they basically protect. And so one is bringing light and one is taking away the darkness. It's wonderful. They work together so incredibly well. And so if you can put those by your windows, but not only that, you can even do a crystal grid. And so you want to always take a crystal point, like a point, and then you take the grid, which is multiple crystals, and then connect them all together. And then you do this with your intentions as well. So you say, thank you, crystals, for my room, or thank you, crystals, for bringing me love, joy, and abundance, or thank you, crystals, for raising my biological frequency. Now, one of my manifestations that I work on every single day that I'm alive is thank you for unlocking my crystalline DNA strands, and thank you for activating each and every one of the extrasensory abilities, because it's of the utmost importance to me that we all start to activate these abilities. Think about it this way. If each and every one of us has the ability to change matter at a subatomic level, then all of a sudden you're instantaneously manifesting peace, love, and joy. Because if nobody had to worry about people going hungry, or we were able to solve some of these tiny little problems that we have around us very, very rapidly, it's just the manifestations come to a point in which the entire civilization will change. And then not only that, but you're talking like it's telepathy with the animals. Like, come on, like who doesn't want to like talk to a tiger? This shit is just be amazing. Are wind-up alarm clocks okay? Are there any frequencies associated with them? Alarm clocks in general do not grant you the opportunity to learn to set and program your own biological alarm clock. And so we all know that we have an alarm clock because a lot of times you may wake up right before that alarm clock hits. And so what is that? That's you're programming yourself, telling yourself, I need to wake up at a certain time. So if you want to use a wind-up alarm clock, that's perfect because there's no electricity in it, but it's scaring you out of a sleep. And so that in itself is not healthy, because when you get scared to wake up, or it's like nervous, right? What you're actually doing is you're clicking on your fight or flight systems in that fear emotion. And so remember how earlier we did speak about how emotions manifest your physical reality. So if you're starting each and every day scaring yourself to wake up, then all of a sudden, what are you doing? The very first emotion that you're firing off every single day is fear. That's just, it's not a positive outlook. So if you have to use it, it's okay. If you can get an alarm clock that's more like love and joy, or, something like that, but it's just very, very, you want to start to train your own biological form to be the alarm clock. And so when you be the alarm clock, then all of a sudden you don't need to. And not only that, but we're not supposed to be waking up that early. Because let me tell you something. There's a certain hour in the morning. It's around 5 o'clock before the sun comes up. You are supposed to wake and go back to bed, or go into a meditative state, actually. Because when you do that, the chances of you lucid dreaming are very, very high. Because in the early waking morning hours, that is when we are supposed to be focused on astral projection and remote viewing and lucid dreaming. So all three of them, they're saying. And so, yeah, just waking up and being up very, very early, that's great on but not every single day, because you're supposed to be in bed, you're supposed to meditate, and you're supposed to be at peace. And then you're supposed to wake up and you're supposed to have time to write. You're supposed to take in a little bit of water, maybe shower, cleanse, and do rituals. Rituals are actually fantastic things for us, because when you get into a ritual and you make it a ritual to really do the self-care and self-love and self-appreciation, it raises your biological frequency very rapidly. And so whenever I personally have used an alarm clock, I never had the time to do the self-care and self-love. And so whenever I've woken up naturally, I was always more calm. And being more calm I made a list. Okay, what are some things I have to do to focus on self-love? Okay, body maintenance, this, and this, meditation, write it down. Then maybe I'll have a nice cup of mushroom tea and I'll watch the sun come up, right? And so it changes how you are biologically functioning when you start to calm down your mornings and really take the time to get to know yourself. Because when you get to know yourself, then all of a sudden you become your number one cheerleader and you love yourself the most. And then all of a sudden your energy levels go up like dramatically because you love yourself and because you love your experience and because, you know, all of this love is an emotion. And so even if you walk around every single day and you just tell your physical items, I love you, thank you, or I'm grateful for you, thank you, or your food, all the food that you have in the house, thank you, food, thank you, I love and bless you, and really feel it in your heart when you say it. Don't just say it blankly, right? And so all of a sudden, every piece of physical item, even a pen, it has a frequency code to it. So when you start loving and blessing each item, then all of a sudden the frequency raises of the item. So you can actually take a pen, you could throw a manifestation on the pen. So you could say, thank you, pen, for giving someone an experience of winning the lottery and using this pen to sign the winning, you know, check and cashing it. And so thank you, pen, right? You're raising the frequency. Do that for a month. And then toss the pen out into the world somewhere. Leave it somewhere. Leave it for a waitress as a tip. And so they're always needing pens. It's like, you know, but someone will take that pen and that frequency has actually been encoded into it because it's a physical item. And so because the frequency has been encoded into it, it works the same exact as a crystal. So they found that dark objects can be programmed. So they've taken, evil people have taken a knife and they've encoded it so that when you picked up the knife, you projected the thoughts into your mind of killing yourself with the knife. And so that's a dark object. Now we want to start encoding light objects with experiential manifestation codes. And so this is how this works. This is actually what the star people do constantly. They walk around all day like little children in their minds, thinking joy, happiness, and bliss. And then they just project manifestations of love and joy and just imagining and visualizing someone actually winning with this. And then just gifting it to whoever, knowing that someone is going to like win millions of dollars or be generously blessed, right? And so when we start to do this for a positive, then all of a sudden you can take a whole bucket load of pens at once. And so you do it for a week, do it for a month, and then leave the pens everywhere. And then all of a sudden, you never know. You could even put your phone number on it or start a website and see how many people actually win. Tell me your experience with this pen. Where did it go? Now, some people take an iPhone, not an iPhone or a clunky old phone, and they'll pass it around civilization. And they'll say, take a picture. And so everyone will go through and everyone will take a picture. And then all of a sudden you get to see the experiences that phone has been through. If you can do that with the pens that you did the manifestations on, you would see how many people won or got abundance while having possession of the pen. So you can actually tune into the memory grid of the pen because you know the item, you know how it feels. You can close your eyes, you can go into a meditative state, and you can ask the pen to download its entire memory into your memory grid. So when you do this, and all of a sudden you will get a visual representation. If you're not a visual person, you'll probably get like a story running in your mind. So the story will be, oh, I was with this girl, and then she left me at a college, and then all of a sudden someone else picked me up. Then a librarian had me. You'll get an entire story in your mind. And a lot of times we blow these stories off because we think, oh, it's just my imagination. It's not. It's actually the pen is making a form of communication with you, which I know it sounds so crazy, but all items in the physical reality are made of light ions. They're all connected. We are all one. And so when you start to know that you can pull apart the memory grid of every single item, it has an experiential code. So an experiential code means this pen was here, it got beaten up over here, it passed around over here, it got dirty, someone bit on it, and all of a sudden you have the pen over here and it looks damaged and old. So it went through an experience. So what you were doing is you were tuning into the frequency of the experiential code. And so that experiential code has its own memory grid. So if you took each and every item and you stuck it under certain technological and you pulled apart a picture, you would see energetic grids around all items. all items have a memory grid because they store memory, either of being in the earth if they're a crystal or on top of the earth and interacting with humans. But it still has a memory grid. The memory grid is something that many people who have the plasma ability have the ability, attunement, to tune into memory grids and start pulling the experiential frequencies off of each and every item. Now, each and every one of us can program the items with a new experiential code, or you could tune into the item and you could feel the memory grid of the item. So it is a two-way form of communication. Once again, where you project your energy is where you are adding a manifestation frequency code. Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any last questions? Yeah. Beautiful. We are going to wrap it up soon. No more questions? Any questions? What was that one? No? Excellent. Oh, okay. You can actually tune into the memory grids at will. And we do it all the time. The way that you start to do it is you start to work on your own. And so when you close your eyes, imagine or visualize a memory that you have had. And so that is how you start to train the subconscious mind. Okay, I want to access my memories. Close your eyes. Pull up a memory. It could be any memory that you see fit. If the memory is something that is easy for you to pull up, start with those. And so then you tell your mind, okay, now that I've done this a couple of times, give me a memory of something from my childhood. Just close your eyes and wait. And then see what you get. I'm going to get an intuitive hit, they're saying. Yeah. Okay, so you did that with your great grandmother's baby chair, and it was beautiful. Tuning into the emotional grid of the chair just made me smile. Yeah, see? So, and it's I remember myself in a crib, and it was like it was a carriage, and my mom was pushing me, but I was like less than 2 years old, like 6 months, they're saying. But I have the visual of it. So if you actually felt or just tuned in to any item, you would see the entire history. And a lot of times when we tune into the memory grids of something, it goes so quick. It's like, and you get the entire memory as like a download. And so downloads are another topic that should be should really be discussed, because each and every one of us, we can download anything. So let's say, for an example, you want to play piano. And so this is a great one, because playing piano would normally take someone years and years to learn all of this stuff. Well, time and space is only an illusion. We know that. And time and space, a frequency code, it's involved in our binary codex and our other frequencies. And experiential frequency, they're telling me. So they're correcting me. So when you want to, you are able to tune into the Akashic records, or Mother Earth has an energetic grid with all information surrounding it. And so you close your eyes. You could tune into the Akashics, and you could tell the Akashics, hey, I need this download code because this is what I want to learn. This is what I want to know how to do. And then all of a sudden, it will be downloaded into your subconscious mind. So how does that feel like? Well, the next time you go to play piano, you may have a natural ability or attunement to it. So it may just come easier to you. That's how you start to unlock this ability. The more and more you start tuning into the Akashic, and the more and more you start commanding the downloads to come, then all of a sudden you'll know how to play, and you'll like develop a musical ear, or you will just have the intuitive knowledge to play. And so when you level that up to the 3rd degree, you can actually download any codes, kind of like the Matrix. And so when Neo sat in the computer and he downloaded all this information, and he looked super smart and he had karate and all this stuff, that's true. That's a fact. And so if you know the way that thoughts actually work into the holographic simulation, they get projected by 3s. Everything runs in 3s. Even this is why we see that the pyramids are triangular. And so that's 3 signs. And so there's a sacred geometry, and there's a scientific reason behind that. But when any thought gets downloaded by a person, because all thoughts are already in existence, they already are there in the grid. We are just downloading each and every thought in the now moment. So when you have a thought, let's say it's a bright idea that came into your mind, like making the light bulb, all of a sudden 2 other people are having the same exact idea at the same time as you. So it gets downloaded into 3 people at the same time. So this was another thing that I witnessed with my own eyes, because I would have a download. I would write out an entire post from the star people, And then all of a sudden I would notice that other people were talking about it. And I'm like, how is that possible? Because I just wrote this out like 5 minutes ago and posted it at the same time as the other people have posted. And so, but they told me that's because the thoughts and the consciousness, the way it flows through three. And so 3 people are going to receive the same exact identical thought at the same time. And so at that point, it's like, so what happens if the star people took the thought and they gave it to 100,000 people at once? That was my question, because it's really like them giving it to 300,000 people, right? Because it gets downloaded as thoughts into other people. Now, some of the other people who received the thought, they may not have known that they were channeling extraterrestrials. They could have been everyday people who just thought that they were really smart, and they were like, oh, this is a great idea. Let me write it down. So we don't know the way the consciousness flows out through these fractals, because it's a fractal of 3, they're saying. Yeah. Will the solar flare cause a flood of info to enter the world? It already has. And that's the funny thing about it, because if you take a look at the sun is white. And so because the sun is white, that means that it's already been firing off these baby flares this entire time. And so you'll see this in the civilization, where people will get new information and everyone gets all chatty on the UFOs and da-da-da-da. And then all of a sudden we kind of get a little stagnant, and then more information comes. Then we get a little stagnant. This is how the information gets absorbed. So you get more information and you have to incorporate it. So this is what they have told me, because I've downloaded over 500 posts on this information. But they told me you have to download the post, then you have to put it to work for you in real life so that you figure out how to use it, and then you go back and you tell everyone about it. So it's like a whole learning process. However, these days, it's more instantaneous. And so it's a lot less download and write out as it is, here's the information. So my channeling has changed a little bit in the past couple of months. But yeah, okay. A lot of information. Shape of 3 based fractals in more than 2 dimensions, please and thank you. What do you mean? I don't get it. The grand flash. So the grand flash is going to be 3 horns. And the 3 horns, it's going to sound like a frequency. And that frequency is going to change us at a cellular level. And so the sun is going to look white. It may give a tiny little flash, but it may actually go a little dark after this does this, because it's discharging or releasing a type of like UV light almost. It's a little closer to gamma, they're saying. And so when that happens, this is the reason that each person is being called to do the shadow work now, because when you do the shadow work, you're releasing the negative density out of your energetic grids, and you are allowing a higher frequency to be absorbed. When we have to release all of that density so that we are prepared to absorb the solar flash when it comes, because you really want to be at a certain level so that you can absorb the most amount of the solar frequency. Now, scientifically speaking, they did studies on the frequency of a projected solar flash, right? So they figured all the stuff out, and they figured out that the people that they beamed the frequency to, and if they were loving, caring, kind, they became very blissful. They developed extrasensory abilities like telepathy, telekinesis, teleportation. And so the people who were under 51%, they kind of went crazy. And so that in itself begs to ask a question. What's going to happen to all the evil people on the planet? Are they going to go crazy? Right? And so this is what the whole 2 earth shift is about. And so the people who are 51% loving, caring, kind, they access the 5D. So in their reality, all the 3D people are going to start to disappear. And we can already see this happening now, because in my reality, I'm a very high frequency. When I walk into civilization, there's not a lot of 3D focused people who interact with me. They may be there in the supermarkets, they may be minding their business and stuff, but we don't get into questions or conversations. Now, I'll go to a pizza shop, and then all of a sudden somebody asks me a question, and we end up in a whole conversation like this, and then, but that person was already on the 5D path of evolution, because they're asking questions and they're curious. So that's how the universe is going to reorganize your life to put you in vibrational alignment with individuals. That's also how you manifest your soul tribe. You have to be magnetized or magnetic. So you'll magnetize the people to you according to your biological frequency. And so this is what we do naturally. And when you raise your frequency, the 3D perspective people, they tend to just fall out of your life. And so they don't really bother you at that point. But if you have a family member, let's say the family member is very 3D focused. And so it's not really giving up on them, but you have to release the resistance. So that basically means you have to, I can't do nothing to help you, right? And you just throw your hands in the air and walk away. And then all of a sudden they'll start waking up very rapidly, because what you actually did was you released resistance to them not waking up. And so when you release that resistance, and all of a sudden they start to go through the entire process if they are cold. And so sometimes they don't get cold. The star people are saying you just have to be at peace with it either way and accept them for who they are. But when you release the resistance, if they are designed to wake up or they get the calling for it, they will start the process. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you guys so incredibly much for watching. Yes. This has been so much fun. Excellent. So if there's no more questions, we're just going to head and end for tonight. Oh, yeah. Well, let me just go through. So I do offer private sessions in which the star people comes through. We download and channel a whole bunch of information for you guys. And so we also offer healing sessions. So if there's any blockages in your energetic grids and you want me to come through everything and clear all of that, we can also talk about traumas and things like that during the healing sessions. The Ascension sessions are ones where your star family comes through, what gifts you have a natural attunement to, that type of information comes through. And then whatever information that you personally need in order to evolve you up to the next level or degree, they're saying, comes through. And so that process, they may even tell you the same thing 2 or 3 times. However, a lot of people who I've been working with, they've been showing up either in their bedrooms or seeing a UFO, or you may start to develop communication with the star people. And so the star people are actually multiple people from multiple planets, but they do come in to help guide and assist you. And they actually know each and every person who's watching the video too. So even if you don't have a session with me, you can still start to make contact and communication with them, because their goal, my goal, is to evolve every single person here who's watching. And so just by making contact and communication with them, they will assign you a rep, and the rep will actually guide you into the evolutionary process. And so they may bring you to a book, or they may bring you to a synchronicity, or they may even tell you, go walk in a crystal cave because your energetic grids need to be rebalanced. That's what they had me doing right before the full moon hit. And I had no clue it was even a full moon. I really try not to pay attention to the zodiac shifts until I feel them. Because the second I feel them, I'm like, all right, something is going on. And then I'll figure it out. Because that, to me, it's a little bit easier going than knowing that there's a shift and then pre-planning or expecting something to happen. I'd rather just feel it. And then I'm like, okay, something is happening. What is it? Right? And so that's living more in the moment. It's not really foreseeing in the future. That's how I try and do it. So I try and always stay focused in the moment. How can I be joyous, happy, and positive? Even if it's a crummy day, how can I be happy and positive? And so I make my little list, and then I'm like, okay, well, maybe going outside and getting some sun will make me happy and positive. That's what I do. Yeah, it's beautiful. Oh, so yeah, I do offer sessions. And so the sessions, they're just absolutely amazing, and they're super fun to do. And so you can go to daniellelipton.com and get that. We do also offer different services that Ali runs the meditations in the morning. So that's something that is really, it's fun to do. Yeah. So just daniellelipton.com, treeoflifeorganization.com. That one is great too, because I put all my posts on there. And so this way you can kind of keep up with what we're doing, or you can even join the subscription list, because we are going to be starting to send out like deals and discounts to the people who are subscribed. So that one's at daniellelipton.com. Scroll all the way down, put your email in and subscribe. This way, maybe you'll get, discount codes off of the sessions or anything. But sometimes Ali and I do classes too. Like we did the root chakra, we did the sacral. So we do want to do more. And anybody who wants to assist in funding my mission to raise the planetary consciousness grids, you guys can send any, donations to Star People Group. And that's at Venmo, Cash App, and PayPal. And it's really greatly, greatly appreciated. So yeah, thank you guys so incredibly much. If you have any questions, now the questions are really important to me because I love doing them. But once again, you can go to daniellelipton.com. All the way down the bottom, there's a little message icon. So you can click that and it goes right to my phone. This way I can see what your questions are, and I'll stick them all in the next live. So that's what we've been doing. Excellent. And thank you guys so very, very much. You have a great day. And then we're also going to be, after the live is over, this way you guys know, I also do manifestations to bring everyone here love, joy, and abundance. So that I'm making it known. This way you guys know what we do after the live. So there's a little bit of energy work that we like to continue. Excellent. You guys have a great night and many, many love and blessings.